Hello again, welcome back, David from Penny University. Yes, this is my actual voice. Just an inside joke. A lot of the videos that I put out are cascading images with me speaking, and I get a comment every once in a while, is this a robot voice? No, it is not. This is me. This is what I sound like. So, in the very last video that I put out, it was basically a question and a little bit of an analysis of the homeless, because it has been brought up several times in some of my videos that the homeless will survive the apocalypse if there is one, or a long-term SHTF situation, grid down situation, because they're already living in SHTF. And I discussed that, mentioned some pros and cons of that. If you're interested in it and you haven't seen it, I'll put a link to it down below. Go ahead and check it out if you're so inclined. Another group that is brought up quite often is the Pennsylvania Dutch. The Amish will survive the apocalypse because they live like it's 1850. Some do and some don't. It depends on what type of Amish you're talking about. So we're going to take a look at the pros and cons of that here really quickly. Their groups vary from one town to the next within Amish or Pennsylvania Dutch communities as much as, say, 200 or 300 years ago, Native American Indian tribes would differ from one another. Some tribes or some Amish communities do allow the use of technology, and some allow certain degrees and some refuse it flat out. So it really depends on how serious that particular group is, how old world they are, because you've got your old world Mennonites, you've got your new world. It varies from one group to another, how they govern themselves within their own community. Some of them do allow telephones in the community for emergency purposes. Some of them do allow electricity. Some of them do allow batteries. And some flat out refuse it. Some of them are so hardcore they won't even let mirrors in their community because they think it promotes vanity. Understand that the Pennsylvania Dutch or Amish people, they don't think that technology is necessarily evil. They just don't want to be influenced by it. But that doesn't mean they won't use it, or that all of them don't have it. Keep that in mind. Pros. For the most part, the Amish or Pennsylvania Dutch are rugged people, and they are healthier than most other Americans. As a matter of fact, the government is wanting to do studies on the Pennsylvania Dutch to find out why they live so damn long and why they're so healthy, when all you have to do is look at their community. I don't know why the government, they love wasting millions of dollars worth of your tax money, don't they? Look at their community and see what's missing if you want to know what keeps them so healthy and living so long. They eat an organic diet because they produce their own food. They don't eat garbage. They're not going to the supermarket and stuffing themselves full of TV dinners. They exercise a lot because they labor quite a bit. It's part of their religious belief that working is godly. That's why they farm and they do carpentry nonstop, pretty much. They believe it brings them closer to God, or something to that effect. So they work all the time. They're rugged people. They're healthy because of diet and exercise, and also no vaccinations. These people aren't subjected to the same type of medical practices that we are. So yeah, they're healthier. Look at what's missing from their community. Another bonus on their part is that they do produce their own food and they do build their own structures. So they're not reliant on having to run to the supermarket. They have their own food, they have their own farms, they raise livestock, they grow vegetables, they know how to store this stuff up for harsh times and winter months and times of famine. They're accustomed to doing that and living like that. They're very self-reliant in that respect, and they rely on other communities back and forth. And they are carpenters. They're used to hard work. that is a plus. And this is what people are looking at when they say the Amish will survive a possible apocalyptic circumstance. Now, whereas those are pluses for the community, and they're good pluses, and these are the reasons why a lot of people believe that the Amish or Pennsylvania Dutch will survive a post-apocalyptic circumstance, is because they're rugged, they farm, they can build their own homes, they're not very reliant or not reliant on technology. There are cons as well. So let's take a look at the cons. Number one is a lack of contact with the outside world. Where that's a pro for them in most circumstances, it can be a con because some of these communities don't believe in media. They think media is evil, and they're kind of right, because the news and all the politics that are crammed down everyone's throats, it's disheartening, and it messes people up, and it gives them a skewed perspective on life. It's miserable watching the news, isn't it? It's miserable. So I agree with that. But if something terrible happened, they could miss it and therefore would not be prepared for it. Another con is that although the Amish or Pennsylvania Dutch are primarily farmers, many communities, and I mean many of these communities, do not process their own seed. They don't do it. They buy their seed in bulk. So how are they going to buy their seed for the next harvest if there isn't any? That will put them into a famine. They only have so much stored up for their entire community, and they won't be able to get seed for the next harvest. That's going to be a major problem. Another problem is the Amish don't fight. And you know, like, what does that got to do with anything? It's got a lot to do with it. Their communities, religiously speaking, are pacifists. They don't believe in war. That's why they are exempt from military service. They're exempt from military service and Social Security. They do pay taxes. In some cases, they pay more taxes than we do, believe it or not. The government screws them. They really do. State and federal government screws them, except with Social Security, because of the way their religion is structured. They won't take a Social Security check. So Congress has exempted them from paying Social Security tax. Fair enough. But they also are exempt from joining the military service because they are complete pacifists. Not to say they wouldn't fight. Like if you went and picked a fight with an Amish person, that they wouldn't scrap with you, but it doesn't mean they know how to fight. It doesn't mean that they know how to defend themselves. It doesn't mean that they have any type of training, and it doesn't mean that they are armed, which means that they are not prepared for conflicts. So if a aggressive, predatory prepper group were to show up at an Amish community or a Pennsylvania Dutch community, they could very easily take that community over, because that community would not have a way to defend themselves. Not that they can't fight, but that they wouldn't. They wouldn't fight, and they're not prepared for conflicts or combat anyways. So unfortunately, that's where your divide comes with whether or not the Amish can survive a post-apocalyptic event. They absolutely could, provided that they're not interfered with, because it wouldn't take much for a predatory group to waltz in and say, we're in charge now, suck it up. And the Amish Pennsylvania Dutch community would fall victim to that. So if you are a prepper group and you are in proximity to one of these communities, I hope that in the event of a long-term grid down SHTF situation, you would reach out to them and develop some type of a co-op. Hey, listen, we want to trade with you. This is what's happening. We want to be your friends. We don't want to hurt you. And use that mutual cooperation, tap into their resources, their ability to build, their ability to farm, and develop a co-op with them, and in turn protect them from other predatory groups that would seek to take advantage of the fact that their religion primarily calls on them to be pacifists, and the fact that they primarily would not be able to defend themselves against an armed takeover of their community. So those are the arguments. What do you think? Please go ahead and put your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd like to see what you have to say. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. I sure would appreciate it. It means something. It really does, to at least know that people are watching and interacting. If you've noticed, I've got nearly 23,000 subscribers on here, and every video I put out barely breaks 1,000. And that's because YouTube is strangling channels like this off. People are not being notified of when videos come out. It's difficult to share. I've gotten complaints from people that they're having trouble sharing the videos. It doesn't show up in a lot of the searches. ScrewTube is playing games with channels like this, making it difficult for us to communicate. This is also part of the reason why ScrewTube is cutting off the private messaging to make it even more difficult for us to communicate. So please do like, share, and subscribe. Check out some of the other videos. If you're new, you may see something that you like. If you would like to help out the channel, there are links down below where you can tip the channel. Every little bit helps, and I sure do appreciate it. And like it always says, stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.